while you eat for a few minutes, and then you can actually start watching the screens. Well, my name is Jeff Meidinger. I'm the account manager for Winnipeg and other prairie regions. I'm based out of Calgary, but I'm out here quite often. Here today, I'm back next week. We come out a lot, and so I'm, very happy to be here. I want to say thank you to Glenn for having us here to speak to you guys today. It's a real pleasure to get in front of a large audience like this and start to talk about Splunk a bit more. I'll do some quick intro. So with me today is Igor Gifrin. He's our subject matter expert. He'll be doing a very interesting security-focused demo today. We also have with us Darwin Funk and Evo Weeds from Scalar. And so, in terms of our partnerships, these guys are a very important partner to us, and they are local to Winnipeg, and so we're glad to have them here. And if you need that local contact point, then those are your go-to guys from a Splunk perspective. But of course, you can always reach out to Igor and I as well. And on that note, if you do want any extra information or anything, come see me after. I can give you my contact info, or you can get it through Glenn, or you can put your interest on the surveys as well, and that's another way to contact us later. Real quickly, I was talking to Glenn about Splunk as a SIM. I know you're eating, but how many people think of Splunk as a SIM or have heard of Splunk as being used as a SIM before? Okay, so about half the room, that's good. I think Splunk, when it first came out, was not intended as a SIM, but it really grew into that, and it's because of our customers starting to use it as a SIM. In fact, I think we were the write-in winner as best SIM on the market at RSA a few years ago, under the other category. We did not come to market as a SIM, but we matured into a SIM, or we matured into something that people use in parallel with a SIM. So don't think of this as something that has to replace your existing security tools. It can augment it. It can give you a lot more value out of those tools as well. And ultimately, it's a platform that does much more than just security. But we're here to talk about security today. We do see people using it across IT ops and app dev and a lot of other areas as well. And we have a lot of local references as well that are using Splunk. So if you're ever looking for local people that are actual users of the platform, feel free to let us know as well. We can connect you with people that are a little more hands-on and working on some of the same problems as you guys do. In terms of next steps, if you are interested in seeing any more, we can do private demos for people, for you and your team or your organization. We can do workshops with your actual data, use your live data, come in and actually build some dashboards, solve some problems, and show you kind of what the value of using Splunk is. There's lots of options, and we're happy to engage. I'm relatively new in the territory, so that might be why you haven't heard a lot of Splunk in the past. But we're going to be out here lots. We're doing a joint event next week with ServiceNow, so if you're interested in that, and that's along with Scalar as well. So we're going to be more present. You're going to hear a lot more about us. We're not just, it's not the HPs and the IBMs, the big behemoths anymore. Splunk is going to show up. Glenn mentioned a lot of the time you don't hear from the new up-and-comers, and so we're going to be more present. We're going to hear a lot more about us. We're not just, it's not the HPs. Still haven't heard enough of us locally, so we're going to hope to change that. So I'm done my sales pitch here. I'm going to hand it over to Igor. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you very much for coming up.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, so again, thank you for having us. We'll jump directly into the environment. Let's see what I'm sharing here. All right, so there'll be no slides, as you probably saw in the description of the session. We are already in live Splunk environment, so the setup here is the environment is somewhere in California. So I'm basically connected through my browser, then I WebEx my picture to Jeff's laptop that is connected to the screens. So if something goes wrong, we will blame technology, right? All right, so let's see how it goes. Okay, and yeah, so if you can hear and just let me know, raise your hand. All right, so What we'll be doing here is looking at malware infection. Specifically, the example will be Zeus malware, which also known as ZBox. Been popular for quite a while, kind of died down, but came back. There are lots of different variations of this. But the whole idea is that what we'll be looking at is not necessarily at the malware itself, but how you can identify malware, how you can understand the impact of this malware on your environment, and most importantly, what you can do next. So how you can automate the whole process of identifying malware and closing the loop so you don't have to spend days and days finding the same thing. So the scenario is very simple, as you can see here on a bunch of screens. So attacker bypasses defenses. We discover compromise, and what's more important is here is we feed this information back to specifically our threat intel. So if something similar happens in the future, it will be identified automatically. Now to a slightly more detailed picture. And let me see where we can zoom in. So the scenario is probably very familiar to practically all of you. So there is a PDF file that is weaponized, sent via email, a classical spear phishing attempt. A user in your organization opens this email, opens the attachment, the PDF spins out another process, and then there's finally communication to command and control. So hopefully nothing new here, and that's the scenario that we'll be working on. Very last picture before we jump to the actual data. So from Splunk perspective, everything that I'll be sharing with you is pretty straightforward because you can literally throw anything at Splunk, any logs, any API calls, any outputs of the scripts, any information that you may have in your environment. Everything that is security related, but nowadays virtually any data is security relevant. Things like CPU utilization, memory utilization, some anomalies in patterns of physical access to your building. Everything is, can be used for security purposes. So let's jump directly to a typical scenario when in the morning you come to your desk, you open your, let's say, security posture dashboard, trying to see what's happening with the queue of your instance. You go to instance review, and again, this will be all in Splunk, but it doesn't have to be extremely Splunk specific. It's just some things are much easier to accomplish in Splunk, but just imagine that whatever tool you use, you can do something similar with your tools as well. So what will be here? So because we have literally thousands of incidents, and there's probably nobody has hundreds or dozens of security analysts working for the organizations. So we concentrate on something that is more critical, more urgent. So here I can see that we have the handful of critical events, and let's see how let's make it even bigger. We can see one of them is threat activity detector. So what it means is that the communication in my organizations, whether it's the main communication, whether it's IP address, whether it's email, whether it's username, whether it's hash signature, hit my external threat intel list. So I want to investigate what's happening here. So I can start digging deeper, understanding the context of this incident. So let me know if you can see, if I can make it even bigger. So I know that the threat activity is most likely triggered by this IP address. But what's happening in my environment? I can see that this internal IP is communicating to this external IP, I know that it's a laptop belonging to somebody in sales. It belongs to a person whose name is Chris Gilbert. So things are not too bad because it means that somebody in sales got impacted. With malware, probably nothing horrible happened because there is no IP information, there is no sensitive information, but still I want to investigate it. So let's see, first of all, I want to understand how bad it is. So for example, if there's a significant infection, quite a few machines will be talking to the command and control server. I can immediately see things like, for example, let's take a look at who else is communicating to this IP address. And again, in a typical Splunk manner, everything is literally within a couple of clicks. I can see the destination, my malicious IP address, and I can see that there is only one IP that's communicating. So things are looking good so far. Let's dig deeper. So what we can see here is I will take a look at other options I have here. So let's see what was happening with this specific asset, in this case, Chris Gilbert's laptop. I'm jumping to what we call an asset investigator. So asset investigator is a really good thing because it allows you to take an asset or an identity with identity investigator and see what that identity or asset was doing across multiple security domains. In this case, we're showing all the authentication associated with this asset, all the changes associated with this asset, threat list activity, executables run on this asset, what my IDS is telling me, and so on. So it's pretty cool because I can easily see the pattern of attack. I can see, for example, from threat list activity, that's something that we picked up. On the right-hand side, and scrolling is intentional, I can see that it's IP threat intel match from destination perspective, and that's the malicious IP address that Chris Gilbert's laptop was communicating to. But what's pretty cool here is that I can also take a look at information from my executable files. And that's where we started noticing odd things. Let me just zoom in. I don't have any prizes, but I hope that for many of you, some things will look odd right now. Any guesses here? So the things like CalPXC shouldn't be in time directory, so it's something that looks very odd. But most importantly is that what you see here is completely customizable. So you can literally put any kind of what we call swim lanes here with executables, with authentication tags, with changes, with IDS, IPS, by parts of the organization, all in one screen. So you can literally see the pattern of attack across a bunch of security domains. And here on the right-hand side, you can build a storyboard how this asset was attacked. Very simple to do because, again, we collect information from those data sources, and visualizing this information is very easy to do. So let's dig deeper. So I'm looking at my help.txt that ended up in a temporary directory. And from this point, I can do multiple things. For example, here I can share this information with anybody else in the organization. So if I take this painfully long URL and we'll send it via email, for example, via chat, the person who will log in this one will get exactly the same picture. So you can easily hand over the investigations. I can also put this specific set of events back into my incident review. So for example, if I notice something that wasn't captured by your SIM, I can put it back to incident review. But what we will do, we'll start digging deeper and looking at the raw events associated with this specific incident. This will be relatively tiny, so we're collecting information from endpoints in this case. Just out of curiosity, how much information do you send from endpoints to your login tools right now? Whether it's a SIM, whether it's any kind of other login tool. Anybody sends any endpoint information? Come on, somebody should send. Okay, so it's definitely a very interesting kind of topic of conversation, because if you don't have visibility into your endpoints, you definitely don't have visibility into things like spear phishing attacks, and you basically picking up only traces of what was happening in your environment, but you potentially will never get to the root cause, and it will be fairly difficult to identify something that your signature-based tools caught, like for example your antivirus, your anti-malware tools. In this case, what I'm sharing with you here is coming from Carbon Black. Carbon Black is a premium tool, but there's a bunch of free tools out there that collect very meaningful information from endpoint. So for example, Sysmon from Microsoft is a free tool with Microsoft, right? So you can start collecting this data and send it to a centralized login tool, and you'll have significantly better visibility into what's happening with your endpoints. So here, what we see is my endpoint data collection tool is telling me that, okay, so some process with process GUID this long created my cal.exe in a temporary directory. I can start looking at this event closer. With Splunk, every single field is extracted here. And it doesn't matter whether the data is coming in formatted way, like here, whether it's JSON or XML, but it can be raw logs, and we'll see some less formatted examples a little bit later. So what we see here is that this process GUID created the cal.exe. What I want to investigate here is that basically what else is associated with process GUID. I can start digging deeper and just do a search on this process GUID across my endpoint data. So I see that ultimately cal.exe was created by this process GUID, but we are seeing other events. So typically, events are sorted by time. So on the very top, we see the event that is the most recent, but if we scroll back down, we see the oldest event with this GUID. And what I see here is a very interesting thing. And I'm going to make it even bigger. So this is the command line, which seems to be coming from the Outlook temporary directory, and the file name, second quarter 2014 report. And the path, PDF reader 32.exe. So what we know so far is that Chris Gilbert got this attachment for, I don't know whether it was attached yet, but we'll figure it out very soon. So Chris Gilbert opened this PDF file that was apparently weaponized, and it started creating additional processes on his laptop. So far so good. So we found at least half of the story. Let's see what else we can do here. And that's where things become more interesting. I can go and easily start investigating where the file came from. In this case, I'm collecting data from my email system, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be your Exchange, it can be anything that you have in your environment. We are looking for this specific attachment thing. We don't care who received this. We're just looking for everything that we potentially can find about this attachment. So let's zoom in and see what's happening. So matching criteria. So we have an email coming from OCD with at buttercupgames.com. But if you pay closer attention, so the main name for Buttercup Games is misspelled. So Chris Gilbert received it to obviously to the correct domain name, and we see the subject, new report breakdown. So it's very interesting because it looks like somebody was purposefully sending this email report, knowing what it was containing. Let's see. So we have MTA IP. We have the MTA domain as well. Again, with misspelled Buttercup Games. Finally, we see that only Chris Gilbert received this attachment. Again, not that many, right? So only one person, our organization, received this email. And I can see that sources that we're getting this information from is carbon black, information that's coming from endpoints, and our mail logs as well. So, I guess. So it's good. So we, again, found a little bit more about what's happening with this specific malware. But with Splunk, we can also do additional things. Like, for example, I can add this empty IP to the threat intel. So Splunk will maintain threat intelligence information that is coming from external data sources, but you can easily augment it with external threat intel coming from basically collected by you. And Splunk will combine those sources into one huge lookup and will match everything that comes from your environment, whether it's IP, hash signatures, whether it's domain names, email addresses, usernames, everything will be matched and will be triggered as threat intel match. Similarly, I will add this domain, which with big buttercupgames.com, and I feel safe already. So anything that comes from exactly the same IP, same domain name, will be caught very quickly. Does it make sense so far? Any questions? Is the pace okay? Should I go faster, slower? All right, let's continue. So, what else can we do? So let's see what we can do with Chris Gilbert's machine itself. I typically start investigation saying that, okay, so this will be assigned to me. Say it's high urgency. Myself as the owner. We'll say it's in progress. We'll save it. If it works, it will show me that I'm the owner now. There you go. This is my incident that I'm reviewing. But after I identified what the issue was, I want to perform more actions. And here we can add custom workflow actions. In this case, there are quite a few options here. I can start. Let's see other. Here we go. So we can even do something like this. So we can start initiating a ticket out of Splunk to any kind of ticketing system that we may have. As Jeff mentioned, we have joint event with ServiceNow, but definitely nothing stops you if you have Splunk or planning to bring Splunk to connect Splunk with other ticketing systems. So just like this, I submitted the ticket to Greenwich Chris Gilbert's laptop, and finally, I can go back to my instance, and I can close the instance. And let's see where I am. So I can say closed, and so on. So very easy to do. So other things that I can do here is in organizations that are under strict compliance requirements, anything you do during incident response has to be very well tracked, right? So if you start writing notes on a piece of paper that has pages that are not numbered, or you start copying and pasting things into Notepad, it's very difficult to prove that you actually did the job or took adequate steps for during the incident review process. So here, what I can do here, it's I will start a new investigation. We kind of going slightly backwards. I probably will do it right away. But I can start this new investigation here and say, for Zeus infection. See it. And if I zoom out, I will have this investigation popping up here. Let's not wait for it to pop up. I'll just take something that is already prepared for me. And I can start capturing events as I do the investigation. First of all, I can add my fellow investigators, so share the investigative journal. I can look at what I was doing lately with my investigative steps and add those steps to the investigation. And just like this, I have my timeline of all the steps that I was doing with either searches or references to the dashboards that I reviewed. So every time anybody asks me what I was doing with the investigation, I can point out exactly the steps that I did. So if you think about it, what we've done so far, so we obviously identified the threat. We identified the impact of this malware in our system. We figured out where it came from. We figured out the executables that were that started the infection, the ones that were created by the weaponized file. And what's more important, we closed the loop. So on top of just reimaging Chris Gilbert's laptop, we also added additional threat intel information to our threat intel lookup. And that threat intel may not necessarily exist anywhere else. So basically, it's something that is targeting our organization specifically. So if you think about what is required to do this, you need to collect quite significant amount of information from different parts of the environment. So definitely you need to start collecting threat intel. You need to collect information from endpoints. You need to collect information from your mail systems. You need to have some form of automation of identifying those threat intel hits against anything that comes to your environment. So, which is looks easy when you do it in a demo, but quite challenging if you start putting it together. Considering that I think only one person said that they collect endpoint information, and even he admitted that it wasn't enough information from endpoints. So anyway, so let's do something slightly different. So we know that basically the file, that PDF file came into our organization through malicious spear phishing attack. But it's just a little bit too specific, right? So this PDF had Q4 results, so it looks like somebody did very decent reconnaissance on basically our organization. Let's see what else we can find here. And if I have mine, let's see, let's just expand our search to 90 days here and see whether there are any other data sources that have this PDF report. We'll scroll all the way down here and we'll find something interesting. So we saw carbon black and email logs, but also now we see access combined, basically our web logs that have this PDF name in them. And again, in a typical Splunk manner, going from one place directly to the raw logs is not that difficult. So we are going directly to our web logs. In this case, it's Apache logs. And I can see a bunch of interesting information here. So we're talking here about virtually any kind of log that you can throw at Splunk. Splunk will understand a bunch of data sources out of the box, but anything that Splunk doesn't understand can easily teach Splunk how to interpret. And let's just kind of pause here for a second and we'll share with you a couple of cool things. So let's say you have a bunch of information that you want to throw at Splunk. And Splunk may not necessarily know what it is. In this case, it's web logs, so it's easy. So Splunk will get things like source IP, URIs, versions, user agents. Yeah, there you go. All extracted from the web logs. Similarly, you can look at each individual event, and you can have a broad amount of information. Like, just understanding where data is coming from, the amount of data transmitted, source, IP, user, and so on. But let's imagine that you have completely unique data source, and Splunk does not understand how to device. The thing with Splunk, and that's probably the only thing that I would ask you to remember after this session about how we operate differently. We use concept of schema on read, so we don't care what the structure of the data is when data is sent to Splunk. There is no fields extracted during ingestion. all the fields are extracted and structure extracted only when you do the search. So which gives you huge flexibility. If you look at any other security solution out there, most of them are database-based. So if it doesn't fit into the database, security solution starts dropping events on the floor. Good example was a few years ago, Microsoft changed their login format and it's semicolon. Half of the world lived with no Microsoft logs in their SIM literally for weeks or months. It takes a vendor to create a new connector, create a beta test it, and finally release it to the user base. For Splunk, it doesn't matter. Splunk will still continue accepting the logs as they are. And if something changes, you can teach Splunk how to interpret the logs. Let's say I'm looking at this data, and I started teaching Splunk how to extract fields. I say, this field looks interesting. And I know because I look at a bunch of logs too much. So this is the bias transfer. I'll add this extraction. And Splunk will show me what I've worked out on. Let's, sorry? What was it? Okay. So, oh, excellent. Okay. Right. I was going to walk through a laptop connected to these, but anyway. So, we'll pick a sample event. I'll pick this guy, for example. And we'll start teaching Splunk how to extract fields. Literally, I just highlight a field and say that from now on, this will be field called bytes transfer. Immediately, Splunk will tell me which fields worked out, which events didn't work out. And I can see here that, okay, so I'm missing some of them. Let's see whether I can fix it. Okay, so let's get this field going. And I can immediately see that looks like good. So these are all my matches and non-matches. Oh, interesting. So still there are fields that do not match. But let's not worry about it. Let's click through and start exploring fields. And just like this, we created new field extraction from virtually random data. So you can do it in your environment as well. So this is the secret sauce of Splunk. So literally, that's why Splunk is taking off so quickly when organizations start using it, because it doesn't care what the data is. So we like to say, if you can read it, Splunk can eat it. So basically, any ASCII data and some of binary data can be interpreted by Splunk very easily, and we can teach Splunk how to treat this data. So let's go back to our investigation. So we're looking at who was actually accessing the PDF file in on our web server. And all I have to do is just to say that I care about source type access combined, which is my Apache logs, and just type the name of the file. I can literally type anything here. So it's free-form search. You can specify fields, but you can say error, fail, specific username, whatever you want to search. So immediately I see interesting things. Specifically, the client ID that accessed my file. And what I will do, I will just take a look at, let's see what I remember how to use Splunk. Give me just a second. So now when zoom in, doesn't work at all. I'll see. Just look at everything that I was doing on my web server. All right, so it already looks interesting because if you start looking at the timeline, which basically shows the number of events per unit of time, in this case it's per minute, as we can see here. So difficult with one hand. So 1 minute per column. And what I can see here is that this IP address was hit my website 32 times per minute consistently. So pretty good guess that it was somehow automated, right? So let's see what URLs that IP address was hitting. And as I can suspect, it was a brute force attack attempt. Specifically, somebody was trying to hit the login page. I don't care about this logo specifically, but from the login page perspective, again, the pattern is very, very similar. So I can see that 16 events per minute. So it immediately tells me that somebody basically did straightforward brute force attack against my website, who the legitimate file from the website, weaponized it, and now send it to one individual in the organization. So pretty decent reconnaissance attempt right before this spear phishing attempt. So if we tie it all together, again, what we see here is that having this information in one place allows us to have full fidelity and full understanding of behavior of anybody who is receiving malware or who is sending malware. It also allows us to keep all the tracks of all the steps in the environment. And with this, we'll go back to our picture of what we accomplished here. And let's see how I'm doing on time. I think I'm doing pretty well. So if you have any questions, let's do now. Don't be shy. I'll pick on you. Any questions? Absolutely. Yes, and it's even better. So anything you define as a The question was whether you can go back to historical data and put a new attribute and start using it. So it's even better. So you can do it, but you can also just have multiple attributes associated with the same data and have it different for different teams or different individuals. Every time I extract a new attribute, like for example, new field, it's mine unless I share it with my team or with the rest of the organization. So it allows you to avoid lots of garbage in your system, but also enable your, for example, whoever is doing hunting or forensics in the organization to do something ad hoc. Any questions? Oh yeah, sorry. Okay, that's a fantastic question. So the question was whether sample data is available to get more familiar with the tool. A couple of things you can do. The first thing that I would recommend is look at different free flavors of Splunk. You can literally go and install Splunk on your laptop, on the VM, and it can be Windows machine, Mac machine. And everything that you can get is under here, Splunk.com, free Splunk. When you get your free Splunk on your laptop, there's no data, but you can also get data from things like Splunk search tutorial, which has data sample and teaches you how to use Splunk very quickly, literally within an hour and a half. Or you can get free cloud trial, or if you are very adventurous, Splunk Enterprise Security. 7-day environment in the cloud with data very similar to what we've seen. So it allows you to take a look at full-blown enterprise class SIM solution for 7 days with tons of data. Literally, probably somewhere around 50 to 60 different data sources. Very good question. So the question is, yeah, the question is whether threat intel is ingested as flat file or some other way. So it can be virtually anything. So Splunk can go to external websites and pull information from external threat intel. You can edit CSV files, flat files. There's a nice GUI interface, basically to teach Splunk how to bring data in from threat intel perspective. And also Splunk will use more modern threat intel formats like Stickstaxi, OpenIRC, Facebook Threat Exchange, and others. So, and the beauty of it is that it doesn't have to be a single threat intel source. Out of the box, enterprise security, what we're looking at, comes with a dozen or so threat intel data sources, but you can bring more, and you can also include your own internal ones. And Splunk will combine them, will get rid of the duplicates, and basically will match everything that goes through the system with threat. Questions? Yes, so it is done as part of scheduled searches. So basically everything that goes through Splunk again, basically periodically is matched to your threat intel on a fairly regular basis, and you can adjust how often you do it, whether you do it every 5 minutes, every hour, or every day. No, basically, when you, its schedule is more about pulling data from the feed, right? So for example, you don't necessarily pull data from stick stacks of feed every single second. We do it maybe once an hour, maybe once every 30 minutes or schedule it behind. But then it basically all combined to huge lookup within Splunk and that match against everything that goes through the system. Not the topic of this, but yes, that's true. So we have adaptive response initiative, which basically allows you to have automated or semi-automated runbooks as part of Splunk. And it's pretty cool because it's really easy to build as well. So those adaptive response actions are, you basically have what you do. For example, if you identify malicious IP with a correlation rule and you want to block that IP on your firewall, all you have to do is just say, this is my API call, this is what I do, and you attach those actions to correlation rules. And you can monitor which ones were triggered, how often, or you can make them semi-manual. So when you do investigation, you say, okay, so it wasn't triggered automatically because I'm a little bit cautious doing automated things like this. I will trigger it manually. Some of them are more integrated than others. Like, for example, Palo Alto had those kind of actions around for years. Some of them are just coming on board. But the whole idea is that Splunk is an open book. So everything that you see basically done as adaptive response actions, you can literally see what you do exactly. So if you don't like it, you can easily modify it. And if something does not exist, like we have a bunch of partners, somewhere around 40 for adaptive response. If you don't see your vendor there, you can create it on your own. And there's add-on builder version 2.0, which allows you to automate this creation process very easily. So, and again, if anybody's shy, just I'll be around for another 30 minutes at least, so just ask me questions personally, in person.
Thanks, guys. I think we'll wrap it up there. Any other questions? Yeah, feel free to come back up. We can jump on the demo system. We can show you stuff. We can talk about anything and dig into it for the next sort of half an hour or so here. And then again, any sort of private demos, if you want us to come into your shop and show you, or even use your live data, those are all options. So write that on the survey if you want more contact, or just come and talk to us after we finish up here. But thanks very much for coming out, and we'll see you again soon, I hope.